So today is August the 28th, and we're already being prepared for what the budget is going to look like in October. Today, Keir Starmer's been speaking, and he's come out and he's outrightly said that he's going to be asking more of us in the autumn statement. Now, we've been covering this a little bit on the channel for some time now in terms of we're in a predicament at the moment from an economic point of view. We've got a £22 billion uh, black hole, which we need to fill. The economy is, well, it's in positive right now, but the economy hasn't been performing. And it feels like everything's just broken at this point in time. So, with a new Labour government in, it's a new beginning. It's a change of the guard, if you will, right? Trying to repair the damage that has been done by previous administrations and previous governments, right? Now, we've been covering the fact that with all the work that needs to be done and the challenges that we're facing, the government is going to have to raise taxes and probably going to have to incur or introduce spending cuts, both of which are very uncomfortable conversations to be had because we've been here with austerities when the Tories took over from the Labour Party back in 2010. So it feels like 14 years on, we're still in the same position. We're hearing the same old things. They're blaming it on the previous government, and they're also being very, very bold and forthright in saying, "Well, look, it's worse than we thought it was going to be, and we're going to have to make tough decisions." And that was the language being used by Keir Starmer today. But here's the big question, and one that we've been asking on this channel: if they are going to introduce tax rises and spending cuts, and I'm talking specifically about tax rises here, how are they going to raise the money that they need without touching income tax and national insurance contributions? That was clearly in the Labour manifesto that that was something that he wasn't going to do, so it doesn't raise taxes on everyday working people. Now, if you've been following, we've covered in the fact that the IFS, which is the Institute for Fiscal Studies, when they look at government spending, they tell us that income tax and national insurance contributions forms about 42% of the government's overall tax revenue. So it's the lion's share of the government's tax revenue. When you lump on VAT to that, it's about 52, 54% roughly. All the other taxes form the remaining part of that pie, right? But income tax, national insurance are the largest parts of it. Now, in addition to tax rises, there will be spending cuts. And this is something that was asked of the Prime Minister today. And this was his response that he gave in Downing Street. Okay. So he was asked specifically about tax cuts. So a journalist from the Times asked if spending cuts were being looked at. Starmer said he won't preempt the Chancellor in relation to the October budget. And he goes on to say, he says, "I frankly don't want to take the tough decisions we're going to have to take. I frankly don't want to take the tough decisions we are going to have to take," which really just paints the picture that there are going to be some kind of spending cuts in some way, shape, or form. The question is where and how, because you need to introduce efficiencies into a government that has a black hole, which is spending more than it basically than it has and what it's generating right now. If you look at some of the figures over the last day or so, you know, we've already spent more than we brought in so far this year, and that's backdated reporting. So there needs to be some cuts and some efficiencies introduced in some way, shape, or form. But how, we don't know. Now, back on the tax cuts, he was also asked today, or at least he gave a hint today, of where the tax cuts or tax rises, I should say, not tax cuts, tax rises are going to come from. And this is what he said. He described the budget that's coming in October as painful, and especially for those with the broadest shoulders. And that's the biggest clue so far about where there might be tax rises. So, based on that, and this is guesswork at the moment, what might we deduce as being the areas where there will be tax rises if he's putting it on those with the broadest shoulders? So, inheritance tax, we've heard, or it's been posited, there's likely going to be an increase in the inheritance tax rate. Some people are saying 54.4%. I think that's pretty large from 40%. 54.4%, it's not going to go down well at all. I mean, some circles of society will cheer it on. And if you are on that side of society, please let me know in the comment section whether you are. Within inheritance tax as well, there may be a reduction to the allowances, to the no rate band and the residence nil rate band. We don't know what's going to happen there, but that's likely going to be something that is going to be targeted. They're likely going to target capital gains tax. They might equalize the capital gains rate with income rates, the tax thresholds, that is 20%, 40%, 60%. They might do that. They might reduce capital gains allowance as well. I don't know whether they'll do anything with dividend tax. I mean, dividend allowances have already been slashed quite significantly, but they may do something with the tax levels. And that, again, that's not going to go down that well with business owners or those who run the risk of building their own businesses. There's a lot of risk in running your own business. You can't, there's not a lot of financial stability when you run your own business. I run my own business, and yes, I have a little bit of financial stability. That's because I practice what I preach in my book and everything that I talk about here on the channel. But being able to take the risk of building a business and join the business in a tax efficient manner, that's always been something that has been a benefit for people who take that risk of building a business. If they change that, that's likely going to go down really poorly, because it means that you're going to take all of that risk and have to pay even more tax at the back end. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Again, income tax, national insurance contributions probably be left alone. I mean, at least he said it today that he has no intention, or at least he wants to keep to the manifesto promise. He wants to keep to the manifesto promise. How he does that, though, I don't know. And if he does, kudos to him. It really kudos to him. But I just don't know. Other things that they might increase VAT. Now, the problem with VAT is a tax on product and services, right? So if they increase VAT, all that's going to happen is it's going to be passed over to you, the consumer, because you ultimately pay. So if it goes from 20 to 25%, for example, well, you're going to pay more. You're going to pay more of that, or at least all of that additional cost. Council tax, again, indirectly, you're going to pay for it. And that's going to be really, really interesting to see. Business rates likely is going to get passed on in some way, shape, or form to consumers. Consumers always pay at the end of the day. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do in October and the kind of things that they actually announce in October. This is all guesswork at this stage, but I want to end this video in just maybe stating the obvious here. Okay, look, this week, the energy price cap went up. What? So for the average household now, £1,700 a year for the average household. We thought we'd seen the end of this, but apparently not. And in the midst of all of this, they've taken unpopular decisions in cutting the winter fuel tax for pensioners. Now, on that, if you know anyone, you have family, friends, relatives, whoever, who are pensioners right now, who have lost the winter fuel payment, there are 880,000 pensioners right now that are not claiming pensions credit. They need to claim pensions credit. It takes about 5-10 minutes. I'm going to put a link in the description down below. Get someone to do it for them because they may not know how to do it themselves. Check if they're eligible. If they are, at least they get back their winter fuel payment. Now, that's going to make a huge difference to a lot of people. And I really think that if they are willing to make that kind of difficult decision, I don't think them saying, well, you know what, we are going to have to increase income tax and national insurance contribution as being a far-stretched idea. I think they'll do it if they have to. I think it will be an unpopular one to let out of the bag early. And so it's all going to be about tenterhooks waiting for the statement in October. The second thing I want to talk about, just in closing this, is look, now more than ever, it's really important to have the money basics locked down. And I say the money basics because it's upon my book, The Money Basics, How to Become Your Own Financial Hero. Having those principles locked down. Strong financial management, if you can. Paying down debt and avoiding debt, because debt is a drain on your income. I practice everything that I preach, and everything that I wrote about in that book is what has got me to have a little bit of financial security in my life right now, where I have a little bit of choice. avoiding debt. And I know a lot of people will be looking at credit cards right now. I mean, this is where financial companies and banks do very, very well in times like this when things are difficult because people, we know 1 in 4 people will have less than £100 in savings. We know that already. So when you don't have £100 in savings, what happens? You go overdrafts credit cards. The banks make a killing because of the interest rate to that, but it's a drain on your income. So if you can avoid it, and if you do have debt, try and pay it down. Try and ensure that you're able to build some kind of financial buffer around you. I know that there'll be a portion of people watching this video be thinking, well, that would be nice, Pete. Look, it doesn't happen overnight. It is a work in progress, but the point is you have to start with the work to make the progress. And I wouldn't be sat here today if I didn't have to do the work myself. And the same applies for you. You'll be amazed at how small things can add up over time and make a real, real difference. Now is the time to really be tight on finances, financial habits, and everything you're doing from a financial point of view. Look, if you have any questions, feel free, reach out to me. I do coaching with people. Go and pick up the book, or you can go and listen to it on an audiobook. But definitely, look, do something to better your situation. It's not just my book. You can go and pick up any book. But I'm talking about my book because I know what I put in it. And I know that those principles have changed my life. And in times like this, we have to take charge. It's all about not succumbing and just relinquishing to the fact that things are going to be difficult. And so therefore, you allow yourself to surrender to debt, to surrender to the things that you can't control, when actually you do have some influence over them. And I think that's really important right now. It's so easy to be in a dark place and just think, oh, things are just going to be so bad that people end up doom spending. Like, we have influence, we have control over these things. And this is the stuff that now more than ever, it matters. We need to take charge. We have to take charge. Hopefully, my sincere hope is that we come out of this stronger than we went in. Because guess what? Times like this will always roll around. We're going to have external factors that we cannot control have a huge impact on the decisions we have to make, which is why I'm covering this stuff on the channel. Yes, it's political, but these political decisions are going to have a huge impact on our own personal finances. So naturally, what are the things that we can do to protect ourselves, to make sure that we can learn lessons now and be better when we come out and prepared for what comes next? Let me know what you think of this entire thing in the comment section. What taxes do you think they're going to raise? If you think they're going to do spending cuts, where do you think it needs to happen? I know what people are going to say: immigrants, Ukraine. I've heard all those before, but hey, put them in there anyway. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your views on this. But thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.